Does something smell fishy about the race this weekend? We are going east earlier in the season than ever. The race starts at 3, no FanFest. The 450 heat is first, and there are only 9 minutes between the 250 LCQ and the 250 main. But if you ask Feld, it is all for a good reason. So why is everything about the 5th round in Detroit feel like an alternate dimension? Well, the answer is simple, but each step might need its own explanation. First thing we need to point out is that this race will be broadcast live on the main NBC channel immediately following the Olympics. This might not seem like a big deal, but this is the first week since last summer that there is no daytime football on, and a casual sports fan may be looking for something to occupy their Saturday afternoon. Exposure is always good, and when NBC says you can have the 3 p.m. Saturday time slot, it is in the sport's best interest to take that offer. To fit that schedule, we need to move to a state in the East time zone to give more room for all of the activities. If we stayed out west, the races would be starting at noon local time, meaning track walk would be at 3:30 a.m. in the winter. Detroit is one of only 4 domed stadiums left on the schedule, coupled with Indianapolis, Arlington, and Glendale. And that brings us to the next question of why there is no FanFest. This is not new. This is actually typical of Detroit, even when the race is later in the season. Despite the Michigan cold making for a very bitter experience with gates opening at 8 a.m., Ford Field just simply does not have room for a FanFest, as the stadium is located downtown right next to where the Tigers play baseball. And again, with the temperatures typically below freezing just off Lake Erie, there's no chance fans would be content walking or trawling off-site miles away like they did in San Francisco. And the biggest change for this weekend, of course, is the race order, with 450s kicking off the night show in what may be the first time ever, and then again, the 450s race the LCQs first. However, the main events will be the standard order of 250s first, with the biggest stars ending the night on the podium. If you follow the RotoMoto series, you've seen this before, and I'm sure you'll be shocked to learn that the outdoor series follows the same pattern. When we get the nationally televised spot, we put the big dogs out to show first. Die-hard moto fans are about to cringe when I say this, but this is our biggest opportunity of the year to attract a newer, unfamiliar audience, so you should expect a more newbie-friendly broadcast in Detroit. The show is going to play up the storylines and drama of the 450 class in the 10-minute lead up to the first heat, likely zeroing in on Jet and Jason's scuffle, and hopefully a big spotlight on Aaron Plessinger, as his stock has never been higher after a Cinderella story of crashing out while leading here 1 year ago, finally getting that win in San Diego, and carrying the red plate back to the city that bit him. The schedule does have one catch though. If everything goes to plan without a red flag in the first 4 races, that leaves just 9 minutes between when the top 4 in the 250 LCQ clinch their spot and when they need to be back on the gate ready to go for the main event sight lap. I can already hear your fingers typing a comment that they don't need a sight lap if they were the last guys out there, but other than the fact that they will be maintaining the track in that very brief gap, so yes, they will want to see what ruts are left, it's also just a high anxiety position. These 250 guys in their opening race of the year will already be running high on adrenaline and have no time to come down, with privateers and factory alike performing a fire drill trying to check every single aspect of the bike, debriefing strategy, changing goggles, and God forbid anyone goes down and makes it in anyway and needs to bend a bar or a lever back in place before going right back out there for the main. One of the toughest parts of the outdoor series is maintaining that heart rate over 180 beats per minute for 30 minutes, and from the beginning of the 250 LCQ to the end of the 250 main is scheduled to be 38 minutes. And if they are expected to have their helmet on the entire time they are on the stadium floor, that is nearly an hour. This begs to ask the question, do you think it is a good idea to run the 450s first, at least for qualifying? If you're in the stadium, you see them for opening ceremonies, and then they just go and wait in the tunnel for 25 minutes, and when you're at home, the opening usually talks about them at length, and the same thing happens. If you wouldn't mind, like the video on the way out, and subscribe to the channel if you find value in my videos. Thanks as always for watching RotoMoto. My name is Donnie. Keep it pinned to the weekend.